Love. What is love? This is what we're going to ask in this first movie on metaphysics. Love is basically the basis of everything. So it's a question of understanding what do we mean by love. And that's why we ask, what is love? Now, if I say, find every definition that you can, and when you find one that can't be defined, that is love. So, that's quite complex, isn't it? What I'm basically saying is, find every definition that you can, i.e. use your mind to work everything out that your mind is capable of working out. And when you get to the things that your mind can't work out, that is what love is. So, for example, I could say there's such a thing as true love, and true love is from the heart and not from the mind. So, what do we mean by true love then? How do you define true love? And this is very difficult to work out. That's the whole point. It's actually impossible to work out because true love can't be worked out. True love is an energy, if we can use that word, that we feel within our heart. So, how do we define what is true love and what is then not true love? And by saying not true love, I've actually given you a hint as to one of the laws of metaphysics. So there's certain ways in which there are physical laws which affect our physical bodies and the physical environment that we're in and so on. And then there are also what we call metaphysical laws. So, for example, we can use the law of duality because the creation is supposed to be in a state of duality, for example. And duality is used, for example, to talk about opposites, up and down, right and left, and so on and so forth. But duality isn't just, or doesn't need to be used just in physical terms. It can actually be used in metaphysical terms. So, for example, if you have love, then there's the opposite of love, which is non-love. Then there's another law, for example, of infinity. Things can happen in an infinite number of ways. There are an infinite number of things. You know, things can be looked at from the scope of being infinitely possible. So to use the law of duality and the law of infinity, we can say that there is infinite duality. So, for example, love can be expressed in an infinite number of ways, but non-love can also be expressed in an infinite number of ways. Or love can be expressed in an infinite number of ways, and non-love can be expressed in an infinite number of ways. Fireworks. All right. So this is the problem then, you see. The problem is that if someone does something physical, or, you know, in the physical sense of the physical domain, then the thing that they do may be love and may be non-love. Or in other words, the thing may come from the heart, which is pure love energy, or may come from the mind, which is the opposite of love. And there's an infinite number of ways in which the opposite of love can be defined. For example, fear, hatred, anger, jealousy. Then there's a law of, for example, speaking about the laws of metaphysics, one that you may be very familiar with already is the law of sowing and reaping, or what I call the law of, quote, karma, unquote. So now this thing about true love and not true love. True love comes from the heart, and not true love, or false love, comes from the mind. I've also defined a word pseudo. The word pseudo is to do with belief from the mind. So for example, someone can say, I love you, and that's what they feel in their heart, and that's what comes out from their heart. Another person could say, I love you, which comes from the mind, but that could be a trick, where they are saying I love you in order to manipulate you, in order to use you in some way. The pseudo version is where they say I love you and they believe that they mean what they say, but their actions are not true to what they say. But they wouldn't understand how could it be that they're saying this thing, but they don't mean this thing. And that's where the word pseudo comes in. The pseudo is the individual who believes that they are doing the right thing or being truthful when they're not. It's not like a conscious intention at the psychological level of their mind in order to manipulate you. They have that as a part of their nature, you could say, or their second nature, where they behave in that way, but they wouldn't accept that what they're doing is actually the wrong thing. So you see, you could say I love you from the mouth, but that doesn't mean that you are saying I love you from the heart. And in the same way, someone could think that they love someone, but love is beyond definition. So when they try and work out what is it about that individual that I love, if it's because of the way they look, but then if they can say what the things are about that person that they love, then those things mean that that's not true love, because true love is beyond definition. The best they would be able to say is they love the person in the way that the person looks, but they can't define what it is about that person. And that's the love energy. Then there's also the thing of how do you get beyond the scope of the mind? Because there are things where, when we're talking about true love being from the heart and not true love being from the mind, or false love or pseudo love being from the mind. So how do you go that little bit extra and use your heart and not your mind? Because at the level of the mind, someone thinks that they only have to do a certain amount of something in order to achieve whatever the goal or result is that they're trying to achieve. And this is where love comes in, because love is not a goal. Love can't be defined as a goal, because love is beyond definition. So how do you can't create a scope or a definition or a way to conceptualize what love is. And that's very difficult, because it's difficult for people who are trying to use their mind to understand what is love. The mind cannot understand what is love. You can only feel true love in your heart. And when you felt that, you know what the feeling is, but the problem is that the mind cannot then put words to that feeling. You can use words, but the words can be used for pseudo-love and for false love. Every thing that you've ever seen or heard or read, or whatever you've input from your five senses in relation to love, is what you can import in relation to non-love, because everything is love and everything is non-love. It's not the object that's that can be defined as love. There's an energy, a feeling in your heart, you could say. That's what love. That's what, that could be defined as non-love, but that can't be defined, because when you try and actually put words to that feeling, you don't. If you can put words to that feeling, then that's something that's happening at the level of the mind. So, in finishing, we could say love is the answer. Now, what is the question? Love is the answer means love is what heals everything. And the opposite to that then would be that non-love is what unheals everything. Or non-love is what hurts everything. So if you use your mind to try and achieve certain goals, and yet as you get closer and closer to certain of these goals, you start having problems. The harder you try and force certain problems to happen relative to the concept that's in your mind of what you need to do, you find things falling apart and breaking, and then you ask yourself that why is this happening when what you're doing is for the purpose of love? That your love for your family or the people around you who you care for is what makes you do certain things, but those certain things that you're doing seem to cause you more stress and suffering. And the answer is love. Love is the answer. But when love is the answer, then it means that the solutions are beyond definition, because love is the answer, love is the solution. Find every definition that you can, and when you find one that can't be defined, that is love. So that's where the answer is to do the thing that is beyond definition, which is love from the heart, from all of the heart. Wholehearted love, true love, is the energy that you feel in relation to whatever is going on, and the energy is what is the answer, and that heals the situation. Okay?